Good morning. I would like to call the Niagara Police Service Board public meeting to order for November 28th, 2024. My name is Jen Lawson and I am the chair of the Niagara Police Service Board. We begin the meeting this morning by acknowledging that the Niagara region is situated on treaty land. This land is steeped in the rich history of the First Nations, such as the Hatawindaronk, the Haudenosaunee, and the Anishinaabe, including the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. There are many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people from across Turtle Island that live and work in Niagara today. The Regional Municipality of Niagara Police Service Board, it stands with all Indigenous people, past and present, in promoting the wise stewardship of the lands on which we live. I'll do roll call. Member Kiokio.
Present.
Member Gibson.
Present.
Member Yip.
Present.
Member McKendrick.
Here.
Member Steele.
Here.
And Vice Chair Capasavanu sends her regrets. Do any members have any declarations of conflict or pecuniary interest? Seeing none, if I can have members Kiokio and Gibson move that the minutes of the public board meeting held Thursday, October 31st, 2024 be adopted as circulated. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? No, sorry, no one was opposed. Sorry, I was looking at the same time. Reports for myself. So, the Canadian Association of Police Governance hosts monthly webinars as part of their educational strategy to keep police boards and police executives across Canada apprised of issues currently affecting the policing community. 2 webinars were held in November, one entitled Recruitment and Retention in Leadership, Churn at the Top, and the other titled Equity, Diversity and Inclusion, How Far Have We Come? Recorded copies of all webinars are sent to board members for their viewing. On November 7th and 8th, Barrie Police Service, Durham Regional Police Service, and the Canadian Society of Evidence-Based Policing co-presented the Building Bridges Evidence-Based Policing Conference at Blue Mountain Conference Centre. The conference was supported by the Canadian Association of Police Governance, the Ontario Association of Chiefs of Police, and the Ontario Association of Police Service Boards. Discussion included topics related to evidence-based policing, change management, recruitment and retention, resilience and wellness, professionalization of policing, innovation and future of policing, police legitimacy, and more. Executive Director Reid and I attended the conference on behalf of the board, along with a member of our service. On November 7th, the Niagara Regional Police Service hosted a promotion ceremony at police headquarters in the community room. The ceremony recognized 12 service members that were recently promoted to the ranks of sergeant, staff sergeant, manager, and director. Vice Chair Capasavanu attended the event on behalf of the board. On November 19th, the Niagara Regional Police Service, Niagara Police Service Board, Niagara Region Police Association, and the Senior Officers Association hosted the Police Annual Awards Ceremony at Club Italia in Niagara Falls. The ceremony recognized outstanding service members and fellow citizens who have demonstrated excellence or made invaluable contributions to the Niagara community, along with service retirees and long-standing employees for the commitment to their service. Vice Chair Capasavanu, members Kiokio, Gibson, McKendrick, Executive Director Reid, and I attended the event. On November 20th, Vice Chair Capasavanu joined Chief 40 and service members at the inaugural Citizen Police Academy graduation ceremony. The ceremony provided an opportunity to celebrate the first ever graduating class of the Niagara Regional Police Services Citizen Police Academy. Each graduate was recognized for their success after completing an 8-week course that provided valuable insight into policing profession and was designed to strengthen community relationships. On November 26th and 27th, the Ontario Association of Police Service Boards hosted their 2024 annual Labour Conference at the Hilton Toronto Airport Hotel in Mississauga. Attendees were provided with the opportunity to learn more about police relations landscape across Ontario through discussions dealing with WSIB, legal trends and case studies, recruiting and retention, cultural impacts, operations of the Inspectorate of Policing, coordinated bargaining, and the prevalence of mental health disorder symptoms among police personnel. Members Kiokio, Gibson, Board Solicitor McKeag, Executive Director Reid, and I, along with Deputy Chiefs Greco and Wasilevich, attended the conference. There are no committee meetings scheduled in December, and the board's next scheduled regular board meeting is scheduled to be held on Thursday, December 19th at 9:30 a.m. in the community room at police headquarters. Chief, do you have any reports?
Good morning, Chair and members. Yes, thank you, Chair.
Over the last couple days, I've had some significant dental work done. So with your permission, I would invite Superintendent or Deputy Chief Greco to provide my comments rather than having to listen to me stumble through it.
No problem. I just stumbled through my own, so it's okay.
Thank you.
Deputy Chief Greco?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chief. I will keep this in the first person on the Chief's behalf, just so I don't deviate too far. I have to begin by advising that we are now dealing with 14 homicides this year and 20 traffic fatalities. As you know, this is a significant pressure on resources, and we continue to focus on conducting thorough, extensive investigations to find those responsible and to find justice for our victims. Our members continue their unwavering effort in our community, and we have seen a number of arrests in the last month for offenses relating to the young in our area. Offenses including internet child luring, sexual interference, and our homicide and opioid enforcement and education unit recently laid a charge of criminal negligence causing death involving a 2-year-old child. Our members continue their excellent work and resolve as they address criminal actions with tragic outcomes that are affecting some of the most vulnerable in our society. On Thursday, November 14th, 2024, we attended the Region of Niagara Council Chambers and presented the 2025 budget. Respecting the processes involved, we look forward to continuing to serve the community and strive for the highest level of police service delivery. We hope to be positioned to begin allocating human and material resources with an outlook to continuously improving, using the cornerstone of public safety, complying with legislative requirements, and providing adequate and effective policing. At the beginning of November, we attended a seminar regarding the transition from the Police Services Act to the Community Safety and Policing Act. Council Vita Gawley was also in attendance with our Professional Standards Unit Inspector Linda Hughes, as useful information was provided regarding the legislation and requirements and processes involved. On Saturday, November 2nd, members of Niagara Vanguard attended the Toronto Police College for the 2024 TPS Roll-a-thon in support of the Sick Kids Foundation. Niagara Vanguard is made up of members of the service, both sworn and civilian, who teach and learn cardio kickboxing and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. 12 members attended this event, which consisted of an open mat rolling lasting over 4 hours. Members pitted their Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu skills and techniques against other clubs and police services in attendance, squaring off in 20-plus 5-minute rounds each. Where competition and physicality were the focus, the real winner of the day was a charity and community service, with all proceeds of the event heading directly to the Sick Kids Foundation. Niagara Vanguard members were able to raise with the community support $4,115, which was the largest team donation to the event. On Saturday, November 2nd, we also had 5 members from the service attend the Serving with Pride Gala in Toronto, as well as having 3 members attend the Ghanaian dinner, also located in Toronto. On Monday, November 4th, Deputy Chief Waslovich welcomed 35 members from police services across the province to a week-long OACP Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Conference that we hosted here in the community room. As police services continue to we continue our efforts to ensure that all people, including those from equity-deserving groups, are listened to, understood, and considered. We are proud to assist with this course and the delivery of it. On Monday, November 4th, Deputy Chief Waslovich offered opening remarks to the Sexual Assault Investigators of Ontario conference that was held at a local Niagara Falls hotel. There were over 100 attendees from many different services, including the RCMP, Probation and Parole. Again, we are pleased to have our members attend and play a part in helping these conferences that provide great learning opportunities, best practices, and sharing of knowledge and experience. On Wednesday, November 6th, we hosted the Take Our Kids to Work Day with 49 students spending the day learning about what our police service and many of their family members do what they do every day in keeping our community safe. They visited many of our units, including the training unit, K-9 unit, ETU, communications, and were able to interact and participate in different activities within these units. On Remembrance Day, Monday, November 11th, many members, including those from our senior leadership, attended various locations in the region, including many Royal Canadian Legions. We paid tribute to and honored those that made the ultimate sacrifice in military service and allow us to enjoy our many freedoms and way of life. On November 8th and 25th, we attended meetings at the region as partners in the Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan, part of our ongoing collaboration to work together with our friends and colleagues in related organizations. Complex problems that affect our society or affect our safety and well-being can't be solved by just one group or organization. Working together, we can and will make a difference. On Tuesday, November 12th, we met with Niagara on the Lake Breakfast Club, a group comprised of current and former businesses, academic and public leaders. We presented information on the service in an interactive setting to inform, advise, and engage. On Saturday, November 16th, we participated in the Niagara Falls Santa Claus Parade, a great community event with a large attendance from our local community. On Monday, November 18th, Deputy Chief Greco was at the Crime Prevention through Environmental Design training course to welcome participants on behalf of the service. This training teaches attendees how to evaluate physical spaces and implement proven strategies and concepts to contribute to safer communities. The Citizens Academy graduation took place on the evening of Wednesday, November 20th. The inaugural class was a great success. The Academy consisted of 2-hour sessions for 8 weeks, giving 20 community members an insight of what we do and why we do it to help promote understanding and engagement with our profession. Our coloring contest for kindergarten to grade 3 students to submit artwork explaining how do you stay safe in your community has concluded with 3 winners. The artwork will be displayed in our service holiday card, and I will be visiting the classrooms of the winners to offer congratulations and spend time in their schools. Our members have once again begun volunteering in the Out of the Cold program that assists with the St. Catherine's Church, Knox Presbyterian Church, that distributes food to those in need. Every holiday season for many years, our members have been volunteering their time to this great community effort, and we will give a special thanks to Diana James, who liaises with us every year in organizing this event. Inspector Steve Magistrali of Investigative Detective Support has had the opportunity to teach classes to grade 7 and 8 students at Ridley College, and last week attended to teach students on general policing and crime scene management. This is a great example of a senior leader in a positive role with our youth and sharing knowledge with these young minds. It is worth noting that we recently had 2 members from the service complete the Rotman School of Management Police Leadership Program that we're presently having 4 members enrolled in the DeGroote Leadership Training, which will be completed at the end of 2025. On Sunday, November 24th, Deputy Chief Greco attended the Ice Dogs Teddy Bear Toss. We are making arrangements to deliver the teddy bears to children in hospitals during the month of December. On Monday, November 25th, Inspector LaPlante and I attended and the Chief attended the Thorold Town and Gown meeting with Mayor Ugolini and senior staff to discuss issues facing Thorold. On Wednesday, December 4th, with the holiday season upon us, we will once again be attending the Shopping with Cops event at the Penn Center. This event has occurred for over 10 years and involves young students being paired with officers to shop for Christmas gifts at the Penn Center. The children chosen are recommended by their school staff for a variety of reasons, including need and recognition of specific academic or sports achievements, or because of volunteer efforts that are making a difference in the community. We look forward to this fantastic opportunity to spend more time with our young community members and it is so rewarding for all those that are involved. One other event that I went to with several members of the service was the Able Gala that was held at the Casino Rama complex. And it was an unbelievably well-attended event and just a really great opportunity, again, for our members to support such a great organization. On Thursday, November 7th, we held a promotional ceremony to celebrate the accomplishment of members continuing their leadership journeys and recognizing their hard work in achieving the success. On Thursday, November 14th, 10 of our members attended the Ontario Women in Law Enforcement Training Day. This was an opportunity for members, both sworn and civilian, from police services across Ontario to enhance their skills, knowledge, and network and elevate the standards and impact of law enforcement as a whole. On Friday, November 15th, our members attended the 15th Annual South Asian Gala in Toronto, recognizing the contributions of South Asian members of law enforcement. And on Saturday, November 16th, which I just referenced, several members attended the Association of Black Law Enforcers Able Gala in Aurelia, acknowledging the role of the community in law enforcement and awarding scholarships to assist young people in their educational endeavors. On Tuesday, November 19th, we held our annual awards ceremony at Club Italia, recognizing the great work that our members do. The awards included retired members and also citizens that have contributed to public safety in our community. And that concludes the remarks. Thanks.
Thank you. Board members, any questions or comments? So I would like to just quickly make a comment on the fact that over the last 8 months, we've seen a big shift in the way the chief reports have been done, and I really appreciate that we are trying to educate the community that the police service actually does a lot more than just policing. There's a lot of volunteer times that are going in. I know people hear the report being read and they probably think that the officers are being paid for a lot of these events, but a lot of the events are actually attended on their own personal time. And any of these competitions that you're hearing about are actually volunteer times that they're just doing something because they're very passionate about policing. So I think it's really important for us to remember and note that while we see a lot of bad things in the paper, there's a lot of good work that's going in the back end, and I really appreciate the fact that we just don't regurgitate all of the bad things that are happening. It's important for us to be reminded of them, but it's very important to let the community know that we are there for them and we are attending while they may not see us necessarily all the time. We are there quietly in the background doing a lot of additional work. So thank you for the report. If there's no other comments, no? Thank you for that. We're going to go to the presentation. So either chief or deputy chief, can I have somebody introduce the presentation, please?
Thank you, Chair. It's my pleasure to invite Director Blood up to do the presentation.
Thank you very much, Chief. Chair Lawson and members of the Police Services Board, it gives me pleasure to be here this morning to present the Human Resources Unit. I hope that by the end of my short presentation, you'll have more of an insight in not only into the unit, but the human resources profession in general. That's my job. Hang on. On that note, I'd like to respectfully ask for you to indulge me for 1 minute while I provide a brief overview of the governance and oversight for the practice of human resources. I feel it's important to know that, like other regulated professionals, human resources professionals are also bound by a code of ethics and rules of professional conduct. In 2013, the Registered Human Resources Professionals Act was passed, and the HRPA, which you might be familiar with, the Human Resources Professional Association, was established as the Tier 1 regulator for HR professionals throughout the province of Ontario. The Act and the Association exist to promote and protect the public interest by governing and regulating the practice of human resources. Like other regulated organizations, the HRPA accepts public complaints about the conduct of human resources professionals, investigates, and if substantiated, will apply an appropriate penalty, which can include withdrawal of their professional designation or withdrawal of their membership in the association. Notices, like a lot of other public entities, notices of hearings and decisions of discipline concerning allegations of misconduct are published on their website. So just for a moment, giving you a quick summary of, there's 3 HR designations that are regulated by the HRPA. They are the CHRP, which is Certified Human Resources Practitioner, a CHRL, which is a Certified Human Resources Leader, and a CHRE, which is a Certified Human Resources Executive. Moving to, that was the piece, the very short education piece. So moving to our unit and the structure of our unit and how we operate at this time. As you're aware, we've recently grown due to the amalgamation of the sworn and civilian staffing and career development functions. With this change, we went from a unit of 11 to a unit of more than 16, and pending final budget approval, a unit of 17. This new structure brings together similar roles which increase our capacity and our ability to meet the changing demands of the service. The recruiting unit has already presented in December, so today I'm going to focus on the human resources unit. Our new structure consists of a leader overseeing 3 main functional areas of human resources, which have been tailored to the needs of the service specifically. I'm going to go through each of those areas and what they do and the assigned staff there. Before doing that, I want to spend another minute on the director role because it's a new position. Reporting to the Deputy Chief Support Services, the new director role was recently created and approved by the board in recognition of the need to have an experienced HR professional at the executive level to drive the delivery of strategic initiatives and participate in senior level decisions affecting our members. Some of those initiatives that are driven by the HR area include resource and succession planning, continuous improvement, mentorship, HR program development, governance, human resources management systems, and the development of a long-term people strategy. In the previous structure, many of these important strategic initiatives were just not possible given our capacity. The need for this role was also identified during a review of the HR function in 2020 by an external consultant. I'm going to start with the health, safety, and wellness functional area of human resources. In this area, we have 5 assigned members who are experienced in the delivery of both health and safety and disability management services. The manager of this unit was promoted from within our own unit and brings more than 20 years of HR experience, 15 of them with our service. The health and safety specialist who reports to the manager develops and delivers a health and safety program which meets not only the legislated needs, but also under the Occupational Health and Safety Act, but also to ensure that our program reflects the unique needs of the hazards that go along with policing. In addition to investigating of workplace accidents, always with a focus on preventing future accidents, this role also oversees regular inspections of all of our workplaces, developing and delivering training. We also develop programs which are specifically legislated, and due to the nature of our business, we're required to have these programs. And 3 of them include our lead control program, our hearing conservation program, and our infection control protocols. The disability management specialists administer the service's occupational and non-occupational sick leave programs, ensuring compliance with our collective agreement, as well as the Occupational Health and Safety Act, the Workplace Safety and Insurance Act, and of course the Human Rights Code. Their focus is to facilitate an early and safe return to work when members are off work, to ensure that the service meets our obligations to accommodate members and to support members who are ill or injured in maintaining contact with the workplace and keeping them connected. We know that connection to the workplace has a direct impact on return to work rates. This area also maintains and reports metrics related to lost time, which informs decisions on policies, programs, and as the board is very well aware, collective bargaining decisions. Moving to the second area, the talent acquisition and development area. As mentioned earlier, we recently centralized the uniform and civilian recruiting and career development areas. This is the area that was impacted. There are now 3 sworn and 3 civilian professionals assigned to this area. A 4th is pending, as I mentioned, budget approval, talent acquisition specialist. Facing the community, these individuals participate in career days, information nights, high school co-op programs, Take Your Kids to Work Day, and other initiatives which provide the opportunity, or the community with an opportunity to see what our members do. Through these efforts, our goal is to attract qualified candidates who are representative of our community for both uniform and civilian professional roles. This group is also responsible for the administration of the uniform and civilian posting process, the promotional process, and the external hiring process. Maintaining a presence in the community and being visible to job seekers or those who have contemplated a career in policing is essential. As part of the realignment, the realigned structure for this area, which includes a new manager role and the talent acquisition specialist, we will be able to develop more contemporary attraction strategies, which includes an enhanced and vibrant social media presence, providing the public with more opportunities to see what we do, and realigning our outreach efforts so that we go to where the public is rather than standing in one place and wanting them to come to us. So we are actively looking at attending at public community events, sporting events, university and college events in the future, and that's already underway. Finally, the total rewards and HR systems area. The total rewards and HR systems is led by a coordinator who was also promoted from within the unit. There's 4 members in this area. The benefits specialist, along with the coordinator, administer the services benefit plans as well as the OMERS pension plan. They implement salary adjustments that are across the board, as well as benefit changes and ongoing amendments following collective agreements, or collective agreement negotiations. We also support our members as they transition to retirement by offering an annual pre-retirement counseling seminars and OMERS one-on-one sessions, where members can meet with an OMERS representative individually to discuss their own retirement plan. The job classification specialist is responsible for service-wide salary administration and for maintaining the civilian job evaluation system for both of our bargaining units, the civilians in our bargaining units. Going off script for a second, I realized last night, it was too late to change it, that I left the job classification specialist off of the presentation. So they're probably watching, so I just want to say I'm sorry. The service, like other municipal partners, shares the region's HR management systems, which is a cost-effective and efficient way to manage our HR applications. We collaborate with the region on system upgrades, the development of custom applications that not only meet our needs, but our joined needs with the service, our shared needs, and we meet frequently to discuss current technology and consider the future direction of these systems. In 2024, the service implemented a new talent acquisition and management system, which allows us to manage our internal and external staffing functions more efficiently and, more importantly, without paper. This has resulted in significant efficiencies as we now can post positions, receive and screen applicants, schedule interviews, and ultimately, when we hire people, we can map their personal information directly into our HRMS without having to repeat steps. We also have an opportunity through the portal to have direct contact with applicants for obtaining more information, scheduling purposes, advising them of the status of their application, as well as having them complete the necessary paperwork when they're onboarding. This new application will also allow us in time to enhance our talent acquisition metrics. Finally, I wanted to take a moment to share some high-level organizational metrics with you to give you an idea of the scope and magnitude of the work that Human Resources does. And I'm sure these numbers are not new to most of the board members. The focus of the Human Resources unit is driven by the size of our workplace, the nature of our business, and where our members are in the employment life cycle. The life cycle of an employee includes attraction, recruitment, onboarding, retention, development, and finally exit. Our unit supports all of our members as they navigate through each stage in their own employment life cycle. Knowing where our members are guides our decisions about programs and where we need to focus our attention. And that's the end of my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. Board members, questions, comments? I always have one. So thank you very much for that. It's nice to have the units that are not necessarily the frontline coming up as well to talk about all the work that has to be done in behind the scenes, because as the chief indicated during budget presentation, it takes a lot more than just the frontline officers to support the organization. And I appreciated at the beginning of the presentation, we took that quick minute to explain what the designations mean, because it is professional staff. I don't like seeing the word civilian because it makes it seem like it's a less position, but it is a professional department that's required, professional positions that are required, degrees, designations, and continued professional development is required for those positions. So I appreciate that, and thank you for that. And I'll do another shout out for your job classification specialist. It wasn't an intention to leave that person off, so good for that. And I appreciate, and I did notice, actually one quick comment, I did notice that, so we're about 50-50 as far as the job postings for the professional staff as well as the sworn. So it does show that there is more back-end support that's being required because of the types of roles and positions. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely, there is. We are also, if I might add, we're in a very challenging attraction situation, not just our service, but police in general. And I would hazard to say industry. Our candidate pools are shrinking, and we need to do more to try and get people's attention and to have them consider us as a potential career. So having more people involved in those functions will absolutely move us forward.
Perfect, thank you. Thanks for the presentation. So if there's no questions, further questions or comments, if I can have members Yip and Gibson move that the presentation be received. All those in favor? No one's opposed, so that's carried. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So we'll move to consent agenda, and we're going to move items 8.1 to 8.7 in block. If I can have members McKendrick and Steele move that the information be received. Questions or comments? Member Steele?
Thank you, Chair. Through you to Ms. Rollo. Under item 8.5, the financial variance overview. With regards to the potential deficit of $257,243.04, can you just give us an overview of how we deal with that deficit at the end of the year and how we deal with the Niagara region on this?
So through to the chair. So the first step in our deficit would be that the region would look at the consolidated levy, and if the consolidated levy is in a surplus or deficit, then they would just absorb our deficit. At this point, the region has not reported their Q3 and their forecast for 2024. So we're not sure whether they are looking at a consolidated deficit in total. So if they end up where the consolidated levy is in a surplus, then they will absorb that deficit. If the consolidated levy is in a deficit as a whole, then both organizations would have to look into their contingency reserves to fund that.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Member Kiokio? Okay, so no other questions or comments. Seeing none, all those in favor? No one's opposed, so that's carried. Move to 9.1, if I can have members Yip and McKendrick move that the Niagara Police Service Board approve the following: a further reduction of $852,194 or 0.45% to the amended 2025 operating budget for the police service and board, resulting in a total net expenditure budget before indirect allocation. The 2025 operating budget for the police service and board resulting in a total net expenditure budget before indirect allocations of $212,456,352, and submission of the amended 2025 operating budget of the service and board to the Regional Council for approval. Chief, or does anybody have anything that they would like to expand on to explain to the board?
Thank you, and through you, Chair. I can advise that upon receiving the direction from the clerk at the region, we met on Friday morning and did a line-by-line review of our program changes, mindful of the issue of affordability on one hand, but also mindful of our requirements to provide adequate and effective policing and comply with the emerging legislation. And upon further review, the approach that we took was, with it comes risk, but we would introduce a process whereby January 1, I'll use domestic violence as an example, that's one of the changes we put forward. We bring in the staff sergeant, then the staff sergeant is part of the process of bringing in the sergeant, so we built in the 3 months there. And then with the sergeants on board, or sorry, part of the unit, they then would be positioned in January to bring the unit in a kind of systematic, structured way. So we looked at the positions that we would require, creating job descriptions, going through the staffing process, and we thought that we could, with affordability in mind, stagger those in later in the year. So we went through every single position, recognizing the needs, but also trying to be mindful of affordability while not putting significant risk on the organization. So I thank the senior staff for their open-mindedness and their flexibility in trying to accommodate the pressures at the region, which we recognize.
Thank you. Board members, questions, comments? So we'll start with Member Gibson, then we'll move over to this side.
Thank you, Chair. So my understanding, Chief, is this was done in consultation with the region. So theoretically, we approve this today. There should be no pushback from the region saying, oh, no, we want more. You know, that's basically done with them, so it should fly through, no problem.
Thank you, through you, Chair. The region requested we look at $1 million plus a little bit. They identified the specific number of that we had put forward for our senior management changes. We did not consult them with respect to the amendments that we've brought forward to you this morning. We looked at it internally. I did not consult Mr. Tripp or Mr. Carnegie with respect to that. I think that's a process that we undertook on our own.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Member Yip, and then Member Kiokio.
Thank you, through you, Chair. I just want to acknowledge first, working with regional staff to come to this is not the same as regional council approving it, of course. So, and I also want to point out, so when this request was made for the reduction of $1,067,000 or 0.57% of the budget, I reached out to staff to ask what that would look like on the region's levy budget, and it was 0.25% reduction on the levy budget, so really negligible to begin with. So I appreciate staff still looking into this following that motion. I have a question through you, Chair, for the chief, because following our November 14th, 2024 Budget Review Committee of the Whole meeting at Niagara Region, there was a newspaper article that was an accurate story about the budget, the 13.2% increase, and it included information about the 5.7% increase to the services budget that is a direct result of the new CSPA. In response to that article, there have been some communications to the public by one of our regional council colleagues that the Police Services Board knew about these changes and how much they would impact the budget, but didn't share this with council. Chief, can you please share when we knew the full impact of the costs of the new Community Safety and Policing Act that came into force April 1st, 2024.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. I think there are kind of two components to my response, if I could. The first component would be that I'm not sure that that's an accurate statement that was quoted, because I know that as part of the budget submission for 2024, Member Steele, in his capacity to region as a mayor and regional councillor, asked that the monies be put into our reserves to offset potential monies that would be associated directly to the implementation of the Community Safety and Policing Act. At that time, we knew it was going to be, or we believed it was going to be implemented on April 1st, 2024, which it was. And knowing that that was coming, council approved or supported putting monies into a reserve for that very reason. And then during the year, this board supported a mid-year proposal to draw some of those reserve monies in support of the pressures associated directly to the new act. And then the regional council supported that undertaking. So there, I would argue that there was clearly an awareness of the act as much as we could. The second part of my answer would be the full amount of the Community Safety and Policing Act, I would argue, is still unknown. The regulations continue to evolve. The implications on every police service across the country continue to be better understood. So in terms of knowing the full impact of the act, I think we don't still know. The budget that we presented was our best estimate at the time of what the impact would be, but I would be remiss to suggest to you that as I stand here today, we know the full impact. It will continue to become, or to be an issue that we review, and the costs associated will continue to be a moving target.
Thank you for that, Chief. Through you, Chair. And the reason I raised it is because, I mean, I know as a police service board member and as a regional councillor that we knew there would be an impact, and we absolutely did communicate that to regional council, but that we didn't know the full impact. I mean, I didn't know the 5.7% number until just a few days before the Budget Review Committee of the whole meeting. And so I raised that because I think it is irresponsible of a council colleague to communicate to the public that the Police Service Board kept anything from council, when in fact we absolutely did not. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you. Member Kiokio?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you to the chief. I'm glad that, you know, we see a further reduction of 852,000. Now the request was $1,000,067. So we're about 215,000 shy of that goal. I think when the motion came forward, I think everybody knew what they were looking at with that number in mind. And I think it's in regards to the restructuring that's taken place at the top with the new positions. With that being said, is there anywhere within that department that maybe we can cut back another 214,000 so we can get to the mark that council had asked us to look at? I'd like to see us go back with that amount of the 1.06 at them and say, okay, look, we've done it. It's there, and we're about 215,000 shy of that happening. I just don't want to leave a bad taste in council's mouth saying, oh, well, you couldn't try for another 215,000. I just want to make sure that there isn't nothing else, especially where they're looking at, like the restructuring part, where we can cut back another 215.
Thank you, Member, and through you, Chair. When we went through the process on Friday, the only outstanding place that we could take monies, and I completely respect it's the board's budget, and the service is simply making a recommendation to the board, and the board will ultimately decide. But in keeping with the discussion that we just had, the question that Member Steele asked about our reserves and what may or may not happen at the end of the year with our projected $257,000 deficit, we have $1.2 million in our reserves. Now, our staff is recommending against reducing those monies to, in the support of the 200,000, and it also would not be in keeping with the recommendation of the region staff. Regional council might see it differently, but in answer to your question, there is $1.2 million in our reserves, but to further reduce that places the board and the service at risk. For that reason, we did not include it, but I respect the fact that it is the board's budget. It's simply a recommendation that we've brought forward to the board.
I mean, I wasn't actually looking at the reserves, but I'm more or less the restructuring part where we can maybe hold off on a position, this year and maybe, put it in for next year's budget and so that we can come up with that 214,000. I was more looking at the restructuring part. I wasn't looking at the reserves.
Thank you, and again, through you, Chair. And it was very clear to me when I saw the recommendation come forward what they were asking for. But my view is that the senior leaders really are required to set the foundation of the changes that we're trying to drive forward with respect to community engagement and mobilization. And when I look at those positions and the compliance with the strategic plan, compliance with the act, I'd be very concerned to go back and make those changes. And the other thing I would say with the greatest of respect for the regional councillor that made the recommendation is that the Community Safety Act and Policing Act is very clear that that's not within the scope of his responsibilities. That it's as I sit here, it's my responsibility, it's the board's responsibility. The notion of operational independence is significant to the rule of law and democracy, and I'm not sure it was appropriate for that request to actually be made. I wouldn't support further reductions of personnel. The people we asked for, I think, are required, and I think they will help drive the organization and help meet, your strategic plan, meet the needs of your strategic plan.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions or comments? Member Steele?
Thank you, Chair. Comment. I was going to bring this up under new business, but on Member Kielkio's comments. So I just want to read this out to you. Shootings are up 80% in 2024. The number of illegal firearms seized is up 87%. Home invasions are up 306%. Carjackings are up 51%. Robberies are up 20%. Assaults are up 10%. Intimate partner violence is up 6%. Response times to serious crimes have risen from an average of 12 minutes in 2020 to 18 minutes. That's not Niagara. But it is a trend across this province and quite frankly across Canada. That's from the Peel region. Peel region right now is front page. This is in the Toronto Sun with regards to the kerfuffle between the Police Services Board and Mayor Parrish leaving the board because she wants to comment about their budget, and she felt that being on the board, she couldn't go against the budget that she did not support. Mayor Brown from Brampton, however, supports that budget And basically, if you actually read through the article, and if you actually read through other police articles across, not just Ontario, but across Canada, the comments are the same from police boards and the politicians that sit on those boards that also represent the constituents, is the fact that I think we are in a budget time now, and we all agree, all of us around this table agree that we have to look after cost. However, we have to set our police department up to be responsive to the things that are happening in this country right now. This budget, although I will support what is being brought forward today, I'd rather just send back what we'd already sent them. And as Councillor Ripp said, you're talking about 0.025% on the overall budget. You're talking pennies with regards to the $1 million that they sent back to us. Pennies. That isn't overwhelmingly saving the taxpayer gobs of money. It's not. It's pennies. But I think what you can see in Peel, you can talk about in Hamilton, and you know that some of the numbers in our area are up. We are growing as a community in Niagara. All our communities are growing. We're seeing what's being talked about our border now with the United States, with the new president coming in, and what the federal government just announced yesterday, and they'll be talking today about increased border protection. Again, is that going to involve our police department here because of the 4 border crossings that we have? Again, I look at what we have in a budget this year. I wish it was half that amount going up, but reality is reality. And talking about reserves, if you didn't have a police services board a few years ago, quite frankly, rape the reserves that we have, we might be in a better financial position today. I think we could actually have a report come back from Ms. Rollo to show what those reserves were previous to 2018 and how what we're talking about today with, quite frankly, pennies in our reserves. We should have very, very healthy reserves as a police service board because of items like a small deficit this year of 200 and some odd thousand. Small based on our budget, not small based on everyday life and as a citizen in this region. So I'll support what the chief and his staff have brought forward today, but quite frankly, I was prepared to actually change that and send the original budget back. I kind of felt it insulting the way that it was brought out, in the fact that the chief is right. It is not up to the politicians at the Niagara region to tell the police services board and the police department who and where and when to cut. They can make recommendations, but it was quite insulting that it was the 4 positions that they were targeting. And quite frankly, I think that vote was one vote, it passed. The budget passed by 1 vote the previous meeting, so I'm not sure why that would happen, but the majority seemed to pass or accept the police budget as presented that night. The accolades from, quite frankly, a lot of councillors that normally aren't as good to the police service as they have been in the past were actually very good that night. And I took that as a compliment, not to just only this board, but to the chief and his senior team and all our police members. So I will be supporting what's going on today, but I think everybody needs to start reading articles, what's going on, not just in Ontario, but across Canada with policing and what we're up against. So, anyways, thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Member, sorry, I looked that way first, so I'll go Member Gibson and then Member Yip, and then I have comments too.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I need to comment in line with Councillor Steele here. I was disappointed that they sent the budget back asking for that reduction. I thought that wasn't right. We already right-sized our budget. We already did not put into it things that we would like to have had. And as the chief said, what we put in were things that we had to have, that we needed. For the regional councillors to send it back asking for that extra off, I was very disappointed to see that. I don't think people realize where we're going right now in society with the crime that's happening and serious crime. And crime that requires more than just 2 or 3 police officers showing up. We're talking crimes that out of nowhere there's 30 officers required for certain things. And it depletes the whole, the whole region is adjusting to fulfill that requirement, like shootings and stabbings and that sort of thing. And they're happening all the time. There was a time in Toronto where there used to be a shooting or a stabbing every 2-3 weeks. Now it's every night. And we're on the fringe of that. That's going to start coming our way more as the QEW gets traveled. I'm in alignment with Bill here. I just as soon send it back and say, no, sorry. In fact, I thought we were going to have that discussion perhaps today. Although I always like to play nice in the sandbox, and it's only 0.025%. But it's a message. It's important that people understand, in my opinion, as we move forward over the next 10 years, our police service is going to have to grow immensely. As the population grows, we have to grow. And I think the public should understand that that requires lots of dollars. And unfortunately, it is what it is, but it's something that we have to do. So I'll accept this today. I'm not happy about it. If we had a vote, I would vote against taking that amount of money off. But I just, and some of the regional councillors, and having sat there myself, I understand. A lot of it's optics. I want to be the one who, fights against the police budget and the optics of it. So that's always in the game. It's not always for the best cause. Sometimes it's for how I look. I'm trying to knock off a little bit and it looks good. I understand that. That's part of the game of politics. But in policing, when you dial 911, you want that police car there, that ambulance or that fire truck. And for us to start chipping away at our budget and reducing certain areas, you're looking at making longer response times, that sort of thing. It's nothing worse than you come on shift and there's already 20 calls in the queue that haven't been answered, sitting on the computer waiting to get started. So, and we don't want to see that here in Niagara. So we want to stay ahead of the game. To stay ahead of the game requires lots of dollars, and I'm a big proponent of that. I think most people understand that already. We have to look after funding our police properly. So my comments only. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Yip.
Thank you. Through you, Chair. Some comments and a question, and full transparency, and I don't think anybody in this room will be surprised. Normally, I am quite concerned and or skeptical about the police budget and the way it comes to us at Regional Council. This year being an exception. And it was an exception, as Member Steele alluded to a few of my colleagues who also are historically concerned about the police budget and the way that it comes to us. This is the first year that I have been a regional councillor that the police budget came to us with detailed rationale for why there were increases in various areas. And good arguments for making those. The other thing that I think is really important to point out is that 13.2% total increase. 5.7 is again directly related to changes to the CSPA, which means that the police service asked for a 7.5% increase, which is significantly lower than we've seen the last several years, at least. And again, I mean, some of those increases that we've seen previous years, again, to Member Steele's point, were because of the way Police Service Board made decisions in previous terms. My question, though, because I actually, I also am of the opinion that we could just send this back and say, we looked at it, but sorry, it doesn't work. Partly, so, and I, in defense of some of my regional council colleagues, this isn't the first year that council has sent it back and said, look at reducing it by this number, and that number has clearly been about a particular few things. But again, those were also with much larger increases. My question is, realistically, so with the work that's been done by staff to come up with this 0.45% reduction, realistically, is that what we're just looking at anyway? So we may as well go ahead and approve this because that's sort of just how it would roll out anyway, or should we consider saying, no, we looked at it and we're going to stick with the original budget?
Thank you for your question, and through you, Chair. I think that if we did not move the implementation dates back for the sergeants and DVU as an example, that's the first one that comes to my mind, we would be able to move forward more quickly. But by, it wouldn't take 3 months, but we can do it in 3 months. So I don't know that we would necessarily be looking at this anyway, because I think we could fill those positions more quickly. Downstream, because every if it's a promotion has a trickle-down effect. The hiring of the constables to go to the Ontario Police College, that is a set number. So we would have the movement within the organization, but would it result in us hiring extra constables? Not necessarily, because we have to get the spots first. We have to hire them first. We have to get them ready to go to the Ontario Police College. We have to have the positions at the Ontario Police College, and then they have to, do the training, ride with their trainers, and then they're on their own. So that's pretty much set, that timeline. But the establishment of the org chart, the implementation, we are slowing it down a little bit. It doesn't take 6 months to do a job description. Some of the other positions, we could get them probably 3 or 4 months, but to make it 6 doesn't cripple the service. So it does slow things down, but that's why I said it comes with some risk, but it's not fatal.
Thank you for that, Chief, through you, Chair. Okay, so there isn't, in your opinion, much risk to doing this. That's good to hear. When I think about, because the domestic violence program is one that you spoke in detail about here at the board and at regional council, and when I'm looking at this, is there, and because, frankly, it's an area that I have a lot of knowledge about as well, and we've seen really incredible increases in the rate of domestic violence incidents and the severity of them and so on. By slowing this down, I'm using this one as an example, but really I'm talking about everything. But in slowing this down, are we, that still has an impact on how we're able to respond to those incidents as a service, does it not? Like right now, I think you said that the officers in the domestic violence unit have something like 500 calls each, and the other services are down around 300, if I remember correctly. Honestly, there probably should be an even larger increase in that particular unit than what's being requested in the first place. But slowing this down, I think doesn't feel good to me. Can you speak to that, please, Chief?
Through you, Chair, thanks for your question. And we had a lot of discussion about this one on Friday, because what I'm concerned is that right now we're not adequate and effective in terms of our response. Which is why I did not move the sergeants back 6 months. We moved them back 3. Had that request not come from the region, we would not have done that. We would have proceeded as quickly as we could to set the structures up in place to enhance our service delivery in a key area. And I would argue that a lot of domestic violence doesn't get reported. So as we build our capacity in other areas and the work that we're doing becomes better known, we could see more domestic violence cases being reported than we already are. So I was very concerned. I am very concerned about this area. But recognizing that, we want to be thoughtful and strategic, I thought we could introduce this in a structured way. We're not delaying it. We're just being mindful of affordability, but still moving forward in a very high-risk area. Like, I didn't move them all to July 1st. We might get to our 1,067,000 if we had done that, but boy, that comes with significant concern for me and for the team as well, frankly, not just myself.
Thank you, Chief. So through you, Chair, I mean, this will not be popular in the public for me, but too bad. I will be voting against this recommendation. So I know that the motion is on the floor. I will be voting against the recommendation for this reduction. And again, in part because affordability absolutely is it's at the very top of our minds when we're sitting at regional council, and I appreciate that the service, in my view, considered affordability more this budget than maybe in previous budgets. But we are talking about such a small impact on the levy by making this reduction a 0.25 percent decrease in the levy if we were to go down by the $1,067,000. We're looking at, with the 0.45, I think it works out to a 0.18% reduction on the levy. So it's really, it's peanuts in terms of the dollars that we're talking about. Again, won't be a popular thing for me to have said, but when we vote on this, I will be voting against this to ultimately send the budget back the way it was presented to council. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Yip. Any other comments or questions? No? It's my turn now. So I have a quick question first. If everything comes in on, so if we vote it down and the extra million, and there happens to be additional monies at the end of the year, my understanding, I'm saying this for the public, I understand what it is that the money will go back technically into reserves as long as there's not a deficit in the general levy. Is that correct?
Director Rulo provided a framework for that with Member Steele's question. I can invite her to answer it specifically to your question.
I just need the yes or no.
Yeah, that is correct. The surplus would go back, would be the decision of the region's treasurer as to how they would allocate that surplus. So it would first go to the consolidated levy, and if that's in a surplus, they could elect to have it go to their reserves, or if we ask, it would go to our reserves.
Perfect, thank you. I knew the answer, but I was asking it for the public. Second, I'm going to echo the chief's respectful and careful comments, as well as my colleagues on the regional council, understanding that they are in a tough position for their colleagues, including Member Gibson, who, as we are both provincial appointees, as well as Member McKendrick. So it's not taking it lightly. As a taxpayer and a taxpayer myself, I understand their responsibility. I was very disappointed during to find out that they had sent it back for the 1.067, which is very specific. Clearly, it was a very similar situation as the $500,000 that we heard about a couple of years ago. We indicated there was an extra day of pay because of a leap year. We had said we're preparing for it. Can we have the extra $500,000 for the following year? They said no. Following year, we ended up having to go back and explain the whole thing all over again and ask for the $500,000. So we are going to be in the same position, in my opinion. And I say this as a CPA with 20 years, I'm not going to say how many over 20 years, but 20 years plus experience of budget experience. So I feel quite strongly about this. I, too, was very disappointed and if I saw this, I would be sending this back. I am respectful of the fact that we are trying to appear as good corporate partners, not that we're not good corporate partners, but I do want to kind of highlight something that the chief had mentioned. So it's not the board's responsibility to point out what is needed by the police service. Our responsibility is to understand if it's reasonable what they're asking. And what we do as a board is we continue to educate ourselves by going to these events, going to conferences, having presentations, visiting units. So we are more aware of what the service is asking for. Regional council members are not necessarily, we have invited them to attend some, and they cannot be everywhere and everything to everybody. So that's why those responsibilities come down to the board. That is not a regional decision, that is a provincial decision of where decisions get made. It is the police chief and their service to decide what is needed. Ours is to determine if it's reasonable And the region's responsibility, or the single tier, whether it's a single tier or a region, is to decide whether they're going to pay the amount that goes along with it. The fact that it was very specific to say 1.067 was clearly based on the discussions that had followed through the 3 or 4 hour conversation specifically about senior management. And as I have talked about today from the presentation that we heard from the HR, there is a lot of things that happen behind the scenes that people do not see beyond frontline officers. So every time there is a call that you do see a frontline officer, you have a dispatcher who's been involved, you have somebody who has had to hire that dispatcher, you have the association who is supporting their members, you have member wellness. There are all sorts of things that happen in behind that scene. So for us to sit there and say that 1.067, which we know has been pointed towards the senior command team, I do not feel is appropriate. So I'm not supportive of it for that reason. If we have to go back because we want to play good corporate partners and just cut 1.067, I defer to Member Yip's comments about, you know, it's 0.025% of the levy, which is perhaps $2 or $3 per taxpayer. And again, as a taxpayer myself, I do not like seeing tax increases, but I understand why there are tax increases required. So from that perspective, where I sit with this budget is I am supportive of what my colleagues on the region, so I'm saying to Member Kiokio, Member Yip, and Member Steele, I'm supportive of what you choose, but if I had to vote for this, my vote would be that we turn it down and say that we're going back with the full amount. So I just want to let you know that that's where I stand on it, and happy to help support that. But I also understand that you have a tough position as regional councillors to help talk with your colleagues and go forward for there. So I'm happy to do either, but as a professional accountant with a lot of years of budget experience and knowing what I know now about policing and just in general for the service, I would be turning this in and voting it back. So it wasn't a question, but those are comments, and I'm open to if anybody else has any further questions or comments, but we can put this to a vote if there are no other ones. Any further questions or comments? Seeing none, so then we will go to a vote. Oh, sorry. So I need a mover and a seconder for the motion because Member Yip has indicated that she will not. Oh, you can move it? Okay, so we're going to move the motion by Member Yip and seconded by Member McKendrick. All those in favor of moving the motion to approve, sorry. No, it says to approve, right? Yeah, so we need to turn that down then, right? Oh, so we have to vote on this motion first. Sorry, I apologize. So we're going to vote on the motion that the Police Service Board approve the motion the way it is. All those in favor? And all those opposed? So that is defeated. And I can move on to 9.2? Or do I need direction? Sorry, just one moment. Oh, sorry, so we'll do a recorded vote. We can do that. Recorded in favor as Member Kiokio and Member Steele. You don't care either way? There you go. So we have, okay, so if we can have because we'll have to provide direction to council, or sorry, to the region, if we can have a motion, sorry, can I see that? A motion that the board decline the request for a further budget reduction, sorry, I'm trying to read it on the side of the screen here, of 1.067 million. We need a motion. So Member McKendrick seconded. Do I have a seconder? The motion's to go back to the region to provide direction, sorry, that we're declining the further budget reduction of 1.067. So we need a mover and a seconder. So, sorry, I saw Member McKendrick move, seconded by Member Gibson.
So can I'm sorry, just an explanation on that. So we're sending this back to the region saying that this is it, we're not, okay, all right.
Yeah, so we're sending the original budget back because we can't just not respond to anything. We have to show that we're responding to it. It's just the act of sending the original budget back. Okay, so so sorry for the public for the little bit of confusion here. So Member McKendrick has moved, it's been seconded by Member Gibson. Is there any questions or comments on it? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to 9.2. If I can have members Gibson and members Yip move that the board provide feedback as outlined in the report, which was developed in consultation with the Niagara Regional Police Service to the Ministry of the Solicitor General, and that's for the Safer Cities, Stronger Communities Act. Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? No one's opposed, that's carried. 9.3 and 9.4 are special fund requests. If I can, before we consider special fund request items 9.3 and 9.4, I would like to remind members of the public that the special fund does not form part of the police operating budget and is separate from the regional tax base. The special fund is a discretionary pool of funds which is used for grants and charitable donations. Disbursements from the fund are made in accordance with the bylaws provided in the Community Safety and Policing Act and with Board Bylaw 403-2024. Special Fund Administration Limitations and Guidelines. If I can have members Steele and McKendrick move that the Niagara Police Service Board approve a donation in the amount of $4,000 from the special fund in support of the Niagara Regional Police Services Shopping with Cops event. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? No one's opposed, so that's carried. If I can have member Steele and member Kiokio move that the board approve a special fund donation in the amount of $1,500 in support of the Niagara Regional Police Service Men's Elite Hockey Team at the 2025 International Police Hockey Tournament. Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? No one's opposed, so that's carried. Do any board members have any other new business? Member Steele.
Wow, we're tickety-booing along today. Thank you, Madam Chair. Just through you to Deputy Greco, we did speak, I spoke to the chief and the deputy before the meeting. Deputy Greco, can you give us an update on the police checks? I have been receiving a lot of calls, specifically from sports coaches. There seems to be a delay. I know we've made changes, but can you please give us a public update on this and where we stand on these?
Thank you, Member Steele, and through you, Chair. I can advise that at the end of October, sorry, I'll go back before that. The service made a decision and changed service providers that assist with providing and processing records checks. Earlier this year, it was approved by the board. That transition did require a training implementation and then a training component to it, which did cause some reduction. I can advise that at the end of October, with the new system in place, working with the old system currently, that we still have to facilitate the records requests that did come through the old system, that we're able to reduce the amount of records checks in the queue in that by the end of October from 6,000 to 5,000. We're going to continue to see efficiencies grow with the technology change and as the training gets fully developed and with the new records checks coming in that unfortunately they do continue to come in, with the new records checks being processed through the new system, that we will be much more efficient and timely in being able to respond. And I can't give a specific timeline right now of when that queue will be reduced to hopefully nothing. That's the goal and the aspiration with the new program that we've gone to. But, so I can advise that there is still going to be some delays, but we are processing them much quicker now, and hopefully as it goes forward, we won't have these delays going forward.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, Deputy Greco, so once we actually are set with the new system and training's done and we're moving on this the way we should be, what would be the expected timeline of you know, and I'll say, you know, whether it's a hockey coach or a basketball coach, submitting their form and getting it back with their check? Like, what are our what are you looking at for our standards?
So I'm just gonna reference an email that I have from our records manager to see if it speaks to that part of it, just for your indulgence for 1 second.
Yeah.
So I can't give you a specific timeline on it, but what I have been told with the new system, with just basic records checks that do come in, that it's minutes. Once it's reviewed, approved, with the new software allowing digital signatures and stamps to be put on and processed through email as opposed to people coming into the office, it could be minutes, but I can't give you a 100% number of how long it would take.
Yeah, and just for those that are watching or that pay attention to this, there are different levels of checks, correct? As far as if I'm putting one in for a hockey coach is a lot faster than if I'm working in a youth home or a senior center. There are different levels of checks, or are they all exactly the same?
No, there are different levels
Yeah.
of checks, and there's also nuances with if there's a potential hit on a name on a basic check that requires further investigation and a deeper dive into the data, that could cause delays, but a basic check is a basic check.
Yeah, but aside from somebody having an issue, if you have 10 applications come in, but 5 of those are coaches and 5 are in a vulnerable sector.
Correct.
One does take a little longer because it's a more in-depth check, is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah, okay, just one, yeah. Good, thank you.
Thank you. Any other new business? Chief?
No, thank you.
Perfect. There are no in-camera reports, and if I can have members Yip and member Gibson move that the board move into closed session for consideration of confidential matters pursuant to Section 44 of the Community Safety and Policing Act, namely for subject matter related to potential litigation, human resources matters, information supplied in confidence by the Ministry of the Solicitor General, and from vendors for contract awards, as well as legal matters that are subject to solicitor-client privilege. All those in favor? No one's opposed, so that's carried. And with that, the public meeting is adjourned. Thank you.